This is Chibiabos, and this is a tutorial for Stardock's game, Elemental Fallen Enchantress. I have a particular playstyle that I think may help a lot of players that are getting frustrated, feeling if their starting area isn't perfect, they have to immediately abandon it, hit Control N, and start a new game. That's actually not necessary, I don't think. You can come from behind and still win. And your city's starting out with an absolutely perfect area isn't actually necessary. I will show you how you can create a faction for which you don't have to be so concerned about your starting capital city being uber powerful. And this uses the Beastlord profession. Beastlord bestows upon your sovereign, who's your main character. Your leader actually appears in the game and you can move him around. You're not just a disembodied leader in this game. Anyway, Beastlord allows you to tame animals, convert them to your side permanently so they can fight for you, and that's a way to build an army without actually having to build an army in your cities. To go along with Beastlord to really help out, there are special challenges and risks, but I think the rewards are worth it. I definitely do not want to be an empire. My preferred faction is the Kingdom of Peridon. I need life and water magic to help me out, especially when I get both to level 2. I can cast Mantle of Oceans, which will greatly reduce the mana costs of tactical spells. Tame, which is the spell used to tame animals, is a spell, and it starts out with a hefty mana cost of 40. And so mana starting out is a limiting factor. Also, to go along with this particular playstyle, since mana is so expensive, we need to generate it as fast as we can. So I take Attunement as one of my talents. I also take Brilliant, because as a spell, Tame can get resisted, and in fact it's around a 30% resistance even with Brilliant, which gives me +2 spell mastery per level. There's about a 30% resistance to start, and that causes it to fail more often than you might think, 30%. And my spell mastery goes up 2 per level, which is really good. And I level faster with +10 experience. So that's another benefit. There is a third talent I like to take, but of course we spent all our points. So to be able to take a third talent, I have to take a weakness. I choose Clumsy, which will cause my sovereign to randomly on occasion strike a random adjacent target instead of their intended target, which means they could hit an ally. There are ways to plan around this, and it's worth it to me so that I can take a third talent of Tactician, because I find initiative to be extremely important, especially for trying to tame beasts. It's a risky venture, so you want to be able to do it quickly, and if it's going to fail, you're going to want to be able to kill the animal off, since you can't cast Tame twice on the same animal. I'm not going to be too concerned with cosmetics or any such, but under appearance, you get to choose your starting equipment. Since we don't have any points, we can't choose any of the premium weapons or armor or accessories. Those cost points. We don't have them. You get a choice of 5 starting weapons, and 2 of them, and since initiative is very important to me, I do not want to take any of the weapons that have a penalty to initiative. The Warhammer, the rusty short sword, and worst of all, the crude short bow all have penalties to initiative. I do not want penalties to initiative. So my 2 choices are this war staff and the spear. I choose the spear because although it's lower damage, if the target has any defense, and the target that I need to kill has any defense, this will ignore half of it. It also provides an immunity to being counterattacked. It does have a weight of 10, but that's not too much trouble. I usually give all my starting armor to my first recruited champion to serve as sort of a tank. Anyhow, we now have our attributes, talents, and equipment set, which is the only thing I'm concerned with. We can go ahead and save this. Adiala, Adiala, Adiala. And I'm going to go briefly over the benefits of Peridon, which we can now mouse over. The Scrying Pool is a special building that the Peridons can build. It gives an extra essence to a city, and essence can be very important. Essence provides enchantment slots for cities, and some enchantments and buildings give bonuses to a city based on how much essence it has. So it's pretty darn good. The other really good thing is being able to unlock spell tomes through research. These will enable me to make any of my champions spellcasters in any of these 4 schools: fire, earth, water, or air. It won't let me make any champion to be able to use life magic or death if I was an empire. But 4 is better than none. Otherwise, some of your champions may never get any real decent spells. We've got this set, so I'm going to go ahead and click Next. Now for world settings, we are mostly concerned with, in terms of being a Beastmaster, world size and monster frequency. To build an army of animals, we need animals. Animals need wild areas to be able to spawn. We want as many animals out there as possible, so I choose a larger world and denser. Not all monsters are animals, which means not all can be tamed. Some things that look like animals can't be tamed, unfortunately. But there's enough of a variety out there, and there's some really strong animals you can tame that can certainly outdo any of the early troops, and even later on, especially as you level your animals up. They're a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure. This saves your settings, so not all of these are default settings. They're what I've used previously, but world size being large and monster frequency being dense is what is most useful for a Beastlord. There's also a useful setting here where you're setting up your enemies to reducing the number of opponents. I've reduced it down to 4, and because I've already set that, it's the default. I think for a large world size, it usually defaults to 7. I've cut it down to 4. That way, there's going to be more of the world is not going to have a player, in this case AI players, to conquer it and bring it into their borders, at which point it won't spawn any animals or other monsters anymore. And we want more animals, so we want fewer opponents. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And my computer's kind of old, so it takes a while to crunch through and generate a game world. While it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and mention the 3 main benefits of playing Beastlord. First, you don't have to wait or tie up time in your cities training troops to get a powerful military, because your sovereign's just out there basically assimilating a military from the wild. So it saves time in your cities, and your cities can focus on development. Secondly, animals do not require maintenance. All trained troops require maintenance. That's Gildar. So they're an impact on your economy. And third and finally, the third benefit for Beastlord is a number of animals out there that you can tame have special abilities that your trained troops can't get. Now we've got that taken care of. Voila! We've got our game world generated. I'm going to go ahead and skip through this text so we can see what our game world starts out as. Unfortunately, what strikes me first is there's no forest, which is a disappointment. If there was a forest, I could build a city next to it and get a bit more production going. You can only start a city on a tile that has resources. The resources are these 3 numbers. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see what they are. You can see this tile up here in the corner only has 2 resources. The first is food. The second is material. Now, the food sets your population cap for your city. Material sets your production. Some of these tiles have a third resource, and that's essence. And as I mentioned, that provides an enchantment slot, and there's some buildings and enchantments you can set in your city that vary. The net effect varies depending on how many enchantment slots. The more enchantment, the better. 2 is pretty abysmal for production. It could be tolerable if we have more enchantments. 3 is what I call bare minimum for production. I really want better production if I can get it. But it looks like we're kind of limited. Where are these resources? Looks like we got 3 resources. Iron, prestigious location, and an earth shard. Earth shard will give us magic, or give us mana per turn, in addition to making earth spells more powerful if we had a spellcaster with earth proficiency. Our sovereign does not. Remember, we took a life in water, not earth. So we kind of got a choice. The most production we have is 3. And I think what I'm going to choose then is probably one of these 2 slots to start. If I had a tile here that had 3 production and 2 essence, that'd be great, but we don't. And I think this is one of the best spots right here. I'm going to choose this one because there may be, we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and choose this for starting my city. I'm going to go ahead and settle. We're actually starting. I'm going to go ahead and recruit this Hannes, because after I settle my city, it's going to randomly move around my sovereign. I want to recruit while I can. I'm going to go ahead and send Hannes, this champion. I should have checked out what her stats are. She cost a bit of Gildar. She has bash, so she can knock a victim prone. I'm presuming that's just with the melee weapon. I'm not sure. Well, actually, that could be dependent on her weapon. Yeah, that's on her weapon. She's an Earth Apprentice. That's good. You notice one of the middle spell here is Enchanted Hammers. That adds an extra material to a city to give a better starting base production. That's very helpful. Hannes starts with strength. It gives her a greater weight capacity, so she can carry more stuff without incurring encumbrance. Encumbrance, right now she's light, so she doesn't have any penalty, but if she gets up to medium encumbrance, you get a -2 initiative penalty. If you get up to heavy encumbrance, close to your maximum, you get a -4, and initiative penalties, well, they suck. That means your unit, this champion in this case, would not be able to fight as frequently, which means an enemy could get in several attacks per each attack that Hannes could get in. So we want to avoid getting encumbered if we can. But generally, I make my first recruited champion, Hannes in this case, trying to make them into a tank. So I'm a bit more concerned with getting their defense up than being so uber concerned with initiative penalties, although I'll avoid becoming heavy if I can. But certainly the strength will help, because I can add more armor that weighs a bit before worrying about encumbrance. I'm going to go ahead and send Hannes off over here. Usually I don't like ending a turn next to, actually down here to the abandoned house. I won't even wind up next to an enemy. But to continue the thought, here's an enemy right here, Darkling Lurker. You can tell by the purple icon, he's actually in a home. So he's not going to move or do anything. He's just going to sit here unless I happen to have one of my units and a turn right next to him, in which case he may move off and try to attack. And at that point, he's not going to go home and stay there. He'll start moving around the map, and then he's more of a menace. He's actually not much of a threat anyway, but just to stay in good practice, I ain't going to avoid him. I do want to take a treasure. I'm going to move Hannes down here. This will also do a bit of scouting and see if there's anything down here worth anything. Oh, we're finding a backpack. This is going to give her even extra weight capacity, and so she can carry even more without getting encumbered. As I mentioned, with my sovereign, I want to settle my city here, and let's get that going. It's a 4-3-1 tile, so it will have one essence slot. Go, Adiella. The moment has come. We've settled our first city. Yada, yada, yada. Now, we get to decide what we're going to do with our city to start. Iron ore is only really useful when we're training troops, and we won't have to do that for a while. I prefer to start with a production building, but unfortunately we don't have any available. If we were next to a forest, we could build a logging camp. But we don't. I think with our guilder, we're having a slight deficit. We're not too concerned. I might build a merchant first, but I'm not so concerned about it. I mean, it's a deficit of 0.2 guildar per turn, and we've got 63 guildars, so it'd take 5 turns to go down 1 guildar, so 5 times 63. It'd take over 300 turns to deplete our guildar. That's not too bad. I'm not too worried about it. We'll build one eventually, but I think to start out, I think I'll build a scrying pool, which will give us an extra essence. That's our unique building. I'm going to kind of build it out this way so I can snake toward that. I think that's a prestigious location. And then I'm going to add a couple of pioneers. Even with just 4 enemies to worry about, I still might find myself boxed in. And it's good to get an early start on building your next cities. Hopefully I'll be able to find some more locations I can settle. And then after that, I'm not going to worry so much about getting the iron ore early on. I mean, it's right there. I think after that, well, we need to set our enchantment. Here's our essence. We get 1, and here's the slot that we can fill. Because I'm so dependent on mana, enchanted hammers is kind of tempting, but I'm going to set meditation to get so that I can raise my how much mana I'm getting every turn. Right now I'm getting 40. No, right now I have 40 total to start with, and I'm getting 4 per turn. And after setting this enchantment, I'm now getting 5 per turn. And the more I get, the faster I get it, the more often I can cast Tame. Mana is a very limiting factor for recruiting an army to start. I think I'm going to take my sovereign up to this lost goods. My sovereign only has 1 movement point, but when he moves to this city, he gets a free movement point. Or, excuse me, she gets a free movement point. It's a female sovereign. And we're going to take this loot. And what do we got? Ooh, rusty boots. I'm going to stick this on her for now, just because she's alone, but I'm going to trade that off to Hannes. Because Hannes is going to be my tank, so she's going to need to carry the armor. Plus, Hannes can, with the backpack and her strength, she can carry a lot of armor anyway. Let's see, is there anything else we need to do? Let's just take a look at the scene. There's more loot over here. There's this loot up here. There's a couple of monsters about. I'll probably take care of this lurker because he's so close to my borders. There's a rock spiderling. This is an animal. I could tame it, but it's very weak. But if I leave it alone, stay away from it, and make sure I don't expand my borders around it, eventually it'll grow into a bigger rock spider. And that's worth much more for taming. The spiderling by itself, it only has 5 hit points and an attack of 5. It's not even a glass cannon. It's a glass wimp. It'll take a while, but it'll grow stronger, and that's what I want. I want it to grow stronger. Mites, darklings. Mites and darklings are monsters, but they're not animals. I can't tame them. So those are just in the way. I'm going to take those out. These wolves up here, those are animals. I could tame them. They're stronger than the spiderling right now, but eventually they'll grow a great wolf, and that's what I really want. So I'm going to leave these wolves alone, which means I'm probably going to have to stay away from this prestigious location and not settle it for now. And there's a bear over here. It's now out of my sight, but I can see where its home is right here. There's a bear on top of it. It's probably just a cub for now. Eventually, it'll grow into a bigger bear. Actually, well, I can't. I don't have any movement points left to see. It might have been an adult bear to start. My first priority for taming, though, if I can find one, is a spider that can cast a web. Even an adult rock spider does not have web casting, unfortunately. I really want one with web casting. A web from a spider that can cast one will immobilize an enemy on the tactical battlefield for several turns. And this is very, very useful when you're trying to deal with animals. Animals tend to have a lot of movement points, so they can skirt around my sovereign and go and attack someone I'm just trying to level up and cause all kinds of problems. It's better if I can web the animal and make my way toward them on my own terms and try to tame them. It makes it much easier and less risky. Anyhow, I think we've done all we can on our first turn here. So I'm going to go ahead and end turn. I forgot I said it's starting technology. As I mentioned, I like getting my production up. The first building you can research that'll improve your production is a workshop. You remember the enchanted hammers will add one material. Well, however many materials you have in a city, that's basically the raw resources. The workshop will increase how much production you get out of each of those materials. And that's obviously a good thing. It'll help everything build faster, whether it's buildings or training units. It'll also unlock the garden, which lets us get more food out of grain. And grain is the raw resource. It's the basic raw food resource that we were seeing. This will get us more food out of each of those raw grain resources. I actually like going restoration and mining, which restorations are prerequisite. Mining gives, remember the workshop gives us one production per material, but it's actually a building we have to build. We have to build the workshop to take advantage of that. But with mining, we get one production per material, but it's free. We don't have to build a building to take advantage of it. As soon as we get the research, we get this bonus. Mining will also unlock a smelter, which when we build our iron mine, it's basically an upgrade for our iron mine, so we get more iron out of it. Iron metal is useful primarily for training troops. We're not so concerned with that since most of our military, hopefully, will come with taming beasts. These are the two technologies I like to set. Unfortunately, we're in the second season. Because we forgot to set our research for the first season when we had the city, we lost the research. It got wasted. That's unfortunate. But it's just one turn. I make mistakes. I'm doing this Iron Man style, so when I make mistakes, I'm going to own up to them and move on. Part of this video, I'm hoping to show, just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you should quit. A lot of people do. Or if you start with a bad starting location, there are ways around it. Just plug through, persevere, and you'll probably see whenever I encounter a faction, I'll probably be behind them for a while unless I get really lucky. That's all right. I can come up from behind because I don't have to rely on being able to outbuild my rivals in order to get a powerful enough military or having to research a bunch of technologies for armor and better weapons. Since animals come with their own weapons and defenses. Most of them don't have defense, but some of them do. Anyhow, we now have our champion, Adiala. No, Adiala is my sovereign, and our champion Hannes back together, and we're going to take out this Darkling lurker. Then we're going to loot their lair. It's trying to tell me about the iron. I guess I should go ahead. No, I'm going to build the workshop first, which I'll have to wait for research to finish, restoration to finish researching. And I'll build the iron mine after that. There's no sense in adding it on now. We've got plenty of a build queue already. Darkling Lurker is not too much of a threat. He's only got an attack strength of 5 and 5 hit points. He's an archer, so he can hit us from range. Archers have unlimited range in the tactical battlefield, so they can shoot us from all the way across the map. I'm not even going to spend the mana to try to slow him. But you'll I'll at least mouse over him so you can see I get a, right now to start, holy crap, a 50% chance to resist. That's pretty terrible. Just as the game progresses and I level up or find equipment that'll increase my spell mastery, that'll go down with the own enemies I face. They'll have lower resistances. And he's going down. Woohoo! A little bit of experience, not a whole lot. This is experience. A couple of Gildar. Heck, that gives us even more spare time with the Gildar deficit we have, because we're having to pay a wage to Hannes. She's costing wages. We're going to go ahead and loot his camp. A shield. Well, that plus the that rusty boots I found earlier is going to go on Hannes. Right now she's got she's got 0 defense right now. Almost, I'm going to see she's got 0 defense. But I'm going to equip her with these rusty boots. Is this a two-handed weapon? No, it's not. It's a one-handed weapon, so I can equip her with a shield too. And now she's got 6 defense, so she can absorb a lot more punishment and won't take as much direct damage. That'll make her hit points last longer. And because she's got a enchanted backpack, and she's got that strength, the combination of the two, despite these weighing a bit, she still only has a light encumbrance, so she has no penalty to initiative due to it. Our Sovereign is a bit naked, doesn't have any armor. But the armor is going to go to Hannes, my intended tank, first. Maybe we'll find something in this abandoned caravan. A leather cuirass! Woohoo! Eventually this will go to my Sovereign, because I'm sure I'll find something heavier for Hannes, but for now I'm just going to go to Hannes. It's basically a light armor. It's not as strong as, say, the rusty stuff. Now the question is, do we continue trying to scout this way? No, I'm going to go over to the loot that I see. What's that? How's that go about a thresh in the hand was worth 2 in the bush, something like that. Notice I get free movement through the city, so I kind of try and cheat there where I can. And we got a Might's army. Yeah, that bear is just a cub, so I'm going to let it grow into a bigger... And there's another rock spiraling that'll hopefully eventually grow into a full rock spider. But that kind of limits where I expand my city, because I don't want to overwhelm these layers for these rock spiderlings. And I'm going to take out these mites and get onto this loot. If they don't attack me first, which they might. They're not very strong, but I'm just starting out, so my guys are kind of weak. Looks like 3 groups of 3 here. And here we are in tactical combat. I am going to go ahead and cast a cautionary slow. I'm going to try to anyway. Slow will give them a movement initiative penalty. Initiative affects how often you show up here. You can see Adiala is going to get 2 attacks in a row, and so is Hannes is going to get 2 attacks in a row after this round. After they go, each of my guys are going to get double attacks in. Well, this is going to make it even worse for them, because I may get even more. I checked to see which one's going to have the the worst to deal with, and that's the one I'll usually cast a slow on, but they're all equal right now. So I'll just pick one. And it did cast. It didn't resist it, so that's good. I should have been paying attention to the resistance. I'll just mouse over to see. 28% chance of resist. Now that causes it to actually resist a lot more than you'd think. If you're relying on it's only a 28% resistance, so it's going to land. That can be risky trying to rely on that. Now we're not having to worry about it here, but remember, Adiella, my sovereign, has clumsy. That's the weakness I took. So whatever I do not want her to be adjacent to Hannes, my champion, or she might accidentally hit her when she's trying to hit the mites instead. And that's how we deal with that clumsy. That's how we can deal with it, is just keep our allies apart. She might hit someone other than the target I'm going after, but that's okay, because the only thing that she could hit would be an enemy. See, I get to go twice in a row there. And now Hannes gets to go it again in between their attacks. That's the benefit of having higher initiative, and it's really useful, whether you're playing Beastlord or not. Generally, it's better to concentrate fire, but these mites are so wimpy it doesn't matter. Plus, they're in groups, so the more damage I do to a stack, the less attack they can actually do. And now just a single one left. And now there are none. I'm getting a little experience and a little Gildar. Still no level ups, unfortunately. I think next we're going to go for this loot. Maybe not. I don't want to end a turn there because that might upset the spiraling and detach them from their lair. Well, maybe not. They'll probably stay there because we're too much of a threat, but we'll see. Throwing knives. Those can be useful. They have a range of... They're basically a limited range special equipment. Knives you can throw a range of 3 on the tactical field. So if you can't quite reach an enemy, you can throw one of those. You can throw those from a little ways away. Oh, there's another wolf lair. What else do we have here? Another iron ore, lots of iron. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to use all that iron. A welding warrior, another mites mob in a lair, and bandit archers. I'll take out the bandits. Oh, and here's another champion. I can't quite recruit her. I'll have to get more technology, or research some special technology to be able to recruit her, but that's a friendly champion. We'll take out the non-animals. I think I'll start with this bandit archer. We'll see if the bear cub attacks. Hopefully not. Nope, they didn't. There's another bear cub. Huh. Oh, this is a hill. So it used up both my movement points. A better look. Be nice to get that earth shard in range, but I don't want to get the spiders home. That's for sure. The mites are trying to be a menace, so I'm actually going to move back toward my city. And that scrying pool finishes. And yeah, I'm going to cast, since I have Hannes with Earth Magic, I'm going to cast Enchanted Hammer. So kind of split. I don't know. I think I'll do Inspiration. That'll boost my research. Where'd those mites go? There they are, way over there. They're not attached to a home, so they're moving around. Oh, a couple of wolves moving around too. Fortunately, well, they're they don't have enough hit points to be much use. I might try to tame one. They could be a useful scout if I'm careful with them. But lone wolves, they only have 3 hit points and 4 attack, so they're pretty wimpy. But I don't want them just wandering around. They may end up getting a pioneer, hitting a pioneers or something when I get my pioneer string. Pioneers have no attack, so no matter what, they're going to lose whatever fight they get in. I'm going to slow down this wolf's initiative. Hopefully I'll be able to tame it. I'm going to try and tame one of them. But the problem is if I try to tame one, the other one's going to attack it. So I guess I'll have to kill one. So there's just one left. I don't want to attack it. I want to try to tame it. 28% chance of resistance. For some reason, when it's at 28 or 30%, I always seem to... The first one always seems to get resisted. I don't know what it is about that. Hopefully this will change. We'll see. Yeah, it got resisted. I don't know what it is. Every single time, the first animal always resists. So now I got to kill it. And I wasted the 40 mana trying to cast that tame. So now it's going to be a while before we can have enough mana saved up to try to cast tame again. Now we're going to go after the mites. I'm not going to spend the mana to try to slow them. And this is where the knife throw comes in because I didn't have enough movement points to go up and attack directly. I'm going to go after the wimpier mites first, which is this group that had 12 maximum hit points versus a 15, because I can take them out quicker. They do the same damage, so it's better to take the ones out that are so that it'll reduce how much damage I'm facing. Ow, they're biting kind of hard there. I got to get Adiella out of danger here. By moving her down here, she'll be safe from this group of 3, because this group of 3 is only going to attack my unit that's adjacent to them. So all Adiella has to be concerned with right now are these mites, and she might finish them off here. No, not quite, but at least it's only one. Oh, and she gets to go again because they have low initiative. And so does Hannes. She gets to go again. Ah, knocking them down. Good job. And there they go. More experience, more Gildar. See, we're ahead for Gildar, even though we're having a deficit because of the loot we're getting from these battles. And yay, our sovereign has gained a level. I'm going to go for the initiative bonus here. Enmity is only really useful when you're fighting as a kingdom fighting empires or empires fighting kingdoms. They don't help with these random mobs, these monsters. They only provide an attack bonus versus the other faction, basically. You got empires and kingdoms. So kingdoms will get an attack bonus versus empires if they take this, and vice versa. But for now, I'm going to go for an initiative bonus. It's not really a great one. It would be great if I had a tactician, but I don't. Oh, Hannes gets leveled up as well. That's good. Brute's not particularly useful. I mean, yeah, I'll take out a wimpier, something that's wimpy faster. It only gives you an attack bonus versus a lower level enemy. Well, the main purpose of a tank is to take on higher level enemies, so it's kind of a waste. I'd rather have the initiative. I'll see again about getting down to the... They spawn from that mite layer down there. So we're going to go down there and wipe them out. They're already at the point of spawning wandering night mobs, so I'm going to take them out now. Now we got our research. We can build a I can add a workshop to the queue, and then that iron mine. That was the plan, wasn't it? Be careful how I snake this. I think I'll try to go towards this earth shard so I can, especially for the mana. I can do kind of a kitty corner thing here, but I'll have to wait for another building before I'll have to wait for the workshop to finish before I can build a building down here, at which point my borders will expand out and I'll have the earth shard I can build to harvest the earth shard. I'm going to go ahead and add the iron mine in. It's not terribly useful, but since I'm mostly relying on animals, which I don't have to build, which don't require metal, but metal can still be useful for trading for all the rival factions that depend on it. They'll sometimes pay top dollar for it. It can be very useful for trading. Now we're going to take on these mites. They got a bit more hit points, looks like. They're in larger groups. So time to mow them down. This central one has 20 hit points total between the four of them. The other two only have 16. So it'll take longer to take them out. So I'm going to try and slow them down first. But unfortunately they resisted. That's alright, it only costs 5 mana to cast that. Now, we're still dealing with a bit... I've still don't have full health on Adiala here. So I think instead of trying to send her out, immediately after her, the mites get their turn. So instead of sending her out, in which case she'll get mobbed by all three of them at the same time, I'm going to keep her where she is. They can't move and attack her on the same turn because they don't have enough movement points. Now I can bring my champion Hannes in here, and she's got the defense to be able to tank these guys. That'll lock these two mobs. They're not gonna move. They could move, but they won't. They're gonna keep trying to attack her. I do block them a little bit. They won't, even if they could, even if they would, they wouldn't be able to run past here. Any adjacent tile, once they move into it, they're stuck there. They can move another one, but that's it. Anyhow, I'm going to take out the quote-unquote glass cannons first. That would be the ones that have the same attack strength but lower health. And with Adiala, my champion, now she's just going to face this one mob by herself instead of all three of them trying to gang up on her. And yeah, this initiative thing helps. She gets to go twice, and then Hannes gets to go again. Can't emphasize enough. It's good to have initiative. That's why I go and accept that weakness to get the Tactician. Tactician gives everyone in both of these units here, and anyone else I would happen to have in my army with my Sovereign, and a bonus to initiative. So we get to go more frequently. And now at last it's time to take on the stronger guys. I already took half of them out. Now we can finish them off. It might take a little bit of grinding here. Ooh, down to 1 hit point. One more hit. Come on. There we go. They're done. Get a little more experience. A bit more Gildar. And now we can loot their lair. What do we have here? Ooh, studded collar. This is basically a free tame. This basically does a tame, but it doesn't have a mana cost. It's one use. I might give it to Hannes. And so it's a one-off item. It's not something you equip, it's just something you can use. And that way both of them can use a can do tame. Now it's a bit of back and forth, and that wastes a bit of time. Maybe I should go scouting. I don't know. But I think we should take out those bandits. They're just too close to my settlement. So we're going to grind back here. This will take a few turns. And actually, this is probably a good break point between this first video and the next one.